Hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and as you can guess by the thumbnail, the title of this video, I'm talking about two books today. That is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, which I have here, and also The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. So I recently made a reading vlog. I had my patrons vote on some of the Goodreads Choice Award winners for me to read and do a reading vlog. And so I previously, if you don't know, read The Martian. I didn't love it. I don't remember it well. I went back and looked, and I think on Goodreads I gave it a 3.5. But in my mind, I really didn't like much of The Martian. I preferred the movie. And I was willing to give him another try, and people said that they think Project Hail Mary would be a good one for me to read. And then Grady Hendrix, I have read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which I did like. I did have some critiques, but overall I liked it, liked the writing. It was really easy to read, so I was figuring that this could be an interesting book. I didn't know if I would necessarily love it because I don't really care about the final girl trope, but I thought it would be a decent read. Well, spoiler alert, neither of them were good. And so first I can give you some general thoughts, although if you've already watched my vlog, you probably got my general thoughts, but these would be unspoiler, and then I'll go into spoilers because I can really tell you why I hated these books. So starting with Project Hail Mary. This story is very much The Martian 2.0. We just have a character with a different name, and he swears, but he's literally Mark Watney. Like, they're the same, and it's a different survivor story, but still a survivor story. And I guess the stakes are technically higher because in The Martian, like, he was stuck on Mars, and yeah, that's, you know, the stakes are high to get him back. But in Project Hail Mary, it's more like the world may end soon, so we kind of need you to do this thing. So those are the differences. But other than that, I felt they were very familiar. I have figured out that I don't like Andy Weir's writing. His humor is not funny to me. It feels like a teenage boy. It's so dumb and just like immature. I don't find it funny. I'm not a scientist. I'm not super smart in STEM. He loves to put a lot of like math and science on page, which I can deal with a little bit, but I don't need like equations and stuff and the periodic table and all of that spelled out for me on page. It kind of starts to really make my reading slow down, takes me out of the story, and he loves to do that, so I don't love that. I don't remember how I felt about The Martian pacing wise, but this one was way too long. It's almost 500 pages, and I was like, all right, at like 300, I was like, can we get to the point? So it went on for way too long. Being in first person seems to be his thing in a man. I didn't read Artemis, and it's so annoying since these men are so obnoxious. Like, at least in a third person, you can get more, but the problem is it's a survivor story, so there's really no one else's perspective to even look at. And so those are just my general things. It was just not good. Like, there were so many things that characterizations of certain types of people that I didn't think were actually, dare I say the word I hate, problematic. Or just like very stereotypical how he like portrayed like Russian people. And some of the things, even if this is a fictional story, I'm like, come on. You really, like, I don't know. I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of things. Obviously, I read science fiction and fantasy, but it's weird that you want to be like technical and scientific about certain things, and then other things are just so wildly unrealistic that I have a hard time with. And stuff that doesn't just, you know, deal with the space aspect or whatever. I'm like, I can suspend disbelief for that part, but something about like government organizations and how they work together in this story, and like there's just one lady who's over everything and she has to go through nothing, no loopholes, no red tape. She just says it and she gets what she wants, like literally across nations, across the world. And I'm like, please. Please, it's not gonna happen. And I just don't understand. Like, I can understand maybe because people did say that they like the audiobook. There is an introduction of a second character, although we're still in this main character, Mark Watney Jr., his point of view. So we're still in first person. You do get this introduction of a second character, which was fine. I didn't love them like a lot of people said that they did. And I felt their conversations back and forth because of reasons were very stilted to me to read. It probably could have been better in audio form. I'm willing to, you know, I can understand that. And so maybe you put on the audio, you put it on 2.0 speed. It was a rompy science fiction good time. Sure. You didn't think too much into it. But reading it physically with my eyeballs, I don't understand. Also, Andy Weir loves to use a lot of exclamation points, and I too, in my real life, probably use more exclamation points than are necessary. But I mean, so many exclamation points in one paragraph. And I'm just like, dude, chill out. Are these people always this excited? So when people were like, this is my best book I read in 2021, this is the best science fiction book of 2021, I am confused. Did we read the same book? This was your best? Y'all lying. See, I'm feeling the urge to incorrectly use the word gaslit like so many people like to do. I'm not gonna do that, but I'm feeling lied to, bamboozled. I'm feeling led astray again because best? Ain't no way. I think I had a different edition. So I would just, if someone could confirm the ISBN number, that would be great. Because ain't no way. So those are my non-spoilery thoughts on Project Hail Mary, but now I'm going to get into spoilers. So, spoilers. All right. So like I said, this is Mark Watney 2.0 or Junior, whatever. His name is Ryland Grace. And so the story starts and he wakes up. He doesn't know where he is, who he is, like what's going on. And to speed it up, he is on a spaceship and he's around a different star. It's not the sun, but he's on a spaceship and he wakes up and he finds the other two people who were on the spaceship with him are dead. He figures out that they were in a coma, and so it's only him, and he's got to figure out why he was even here, you know, what happened to the other people, what is he doing here, like what's the mission, what's at stake. So the problem with this, from the very beginning, I was interested. I'm like, okay, interesting. Well, we're starting off with the lone survivor again, but there's two people here. I thought maybe we were gonna go the murder mystery route, which probably would have been more interesting. And there's also like this robot thing that he figures out was taking care of them while they were in these comas, but he still doesn't know why the other people died and he lived. So the first, like, I think I did 50 pages at first. He's really just trying to figure out like what's going on, going around the ship, trying to like parse together information. So he like starts getting little flashbacks about who he is, and because there's something like some parts of the ship he can't get into until he like confirms his identity, because like the AI is like state your name, and he doesn't know his name. So he like learns who he is and like his background. So he's going through and he's getting these flashbacks, and at first it's fine because he's remembering who he is, his profession. So he has a PhD in, I forgot if it's molecular biology, something sciencey like that, but he teaches middle school science and he's a really cool teacher. All the kids like him. So whatever, he figures out his name, he's learning more information. My problem with this whole amnesia thing is that he conveniently remembers things exactly when he needs them. Nothing is like, oh, this random piece of information he remembers at page 100 and doesn't come in handy till page 400. No, it's literally as the plot progresses, he conveniently remembers every single thing he needs to know. So like in the beginning, in the first 50 pages, he remembers his name and the basics of the mission. As he goes along, he learns more. Like you keep getting these flashbacks as he'll like be doing something. You're like, I don't know why we're out in space, or am I in a centrifuge, or da-da-da-da-da. And here's a flashback explaining the building process of the spaceship that he's in. Like, it's literally that convenient. And at first I was like not minding until like every time I was like, oh, well, this is convenient. And it was nice to just get a different, you know, different characters to read about instead of just him. But yeah, I was like, oh wow, how convenient. And later you find out why with the amnesia, and it's so ridiculous. And so like I said in the non-spoiler section, there is a person. So essentially the whole premise of this book is that there is this like thing, or they discover that the sun is losing like power or heat essentially, which is bad because any like a change in heat from the sun is going to drastically affect Earth, and they're predicting 10 to 15 years half the population is going to be dead. It's going to be another mass extinction, you know, it's going to disrupt climates and species and all this stuff. And so they're trying to figure out why that is happening and then like how they can stop it. And so they figure out that it's something, there's like, I can't explain it. I'm not a scientist, okay? But there's this something that they figure out is happening between the sun and like Venus. And so somehow they send this probe and they collect some molecules there and they bring it back to Earth. And they come to him, Dr. Ryland Grace, middle school science teacher extraordinaire, to do research on it. And it's because before he left like research and higher academia, he published a paper that was basically his thesis was that all life does not need water to live. And then a lot of the science community was, you know, basically like, oh, are you ridiculous? That's so dumb, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, screw this. And he went to be a science teacher for middle school kids who think he's amazing and he doesn't have to really face critique. But so for that one paper, they come track him down out of everybody in the world with this whole thing that is going to affect the entire planet. And he is the one that they were like, we need you to come look at this. Okay. And it's this lady, the lady I told you, who has power over everything. And so they set him up at this lab and he's doing this research and he like, you know, starts figuring out things about the molecule or whatever. And so of course that's in the flashback, and then you would flash to the present. He's like, oh, is this the same thing that's powering the ship? Oh my God, how convenient. I just remembered that. So this lady, like I said, when she needs him somewhere, he gets flown out, like taken somewhere. He like figures out something and calls, and she's like, okay. She gets him flown out on like Air Force fighter jets. Like they just put him in the back and they're like, here, take this so you don't throw up. Air Force fighter jets and helicopters and whatever and all these things to get out to a naval carrier, aircraft carrier in like the sea off of the side of China or something. And anything she wants is like, he's like, wow, you just really have a lot of powers. Like, yeah, whatever. The prime minister of this or the president of this, just, you know, they have to listen to me. I don't know who she is. She's not a scientist. She's in charge of this huge thing that is very scientific and mathematic to save the planet, but she's not a scientist. I think at the end you find out she was like a history major or something. I forgot where she works for. She's from the UN or something. But she's an American, but she's somehow over everything, and she just gets what she needs. If she needs a ship, she can commandeer an entire aircraft carrier. She needs it to be out here in this sea by China. That's where it can be. If she needs this person, she can put him on a jet. I just lost the word. A freaking fighter jet. She can just put people on fighter jets, and then he gets shipped off to Hawaii. Just all these ridiculous things. And I'm like, this would never happen. Like, even if it was some mass event, I'm telling you, the governments of this world, yeah, they may work together, but it's not going to happen like this. And you know they're not going to let a woman be in charge. Okay, but anyway, we can let that go. So those are some of the things that were really bothering me. I'm like, this is just so convenient. And so he's out in space, essentially. They send him and these people into space because they're supposed to go to this other star where they think, well, they realize that all of the planets and stuff around Venus, where this thing is, are losing energy and stuff, or all the stars. I can't remember. But this one planet is somehow resistant. So they're like, well, we need to go there to this planet or star, forgive me, and figure out what's going on there, so that we can hopefully save Earth. And so they're projecting like how they do their math on how much temperature or whatever the sun is losing and how quickly that's going to save Earth. So they're like, well, we need 26 years because it's going to take the ship to 13 years to get there and 13 back if we send the ship and they come back with their information. And so they're like, we're not going to make it that long. Like, we're going to face mass extinctions before these ships even like get to the planet to possibly find a solution. And so this lady, again, not the scientist, she just pulls random people. She got somebody who was sentenced in jail because he was neglectful with his job site and people died. She just pulls this man out of jail, pulls this man who's like, his whole life mission has to work against climate change. And she pulls all these people together and she's like, we need more time. And so they come up with this idea that we will cause like a massive release of greenhouse or like emissions that will heat up the planet long enough to like offset the cooling off of the planet. And this man I feel like that was the most emotional, real, like, only time I felt for a character in this book was that dude, that scientist, because he was like, I fought my whole life like to not do this, to not, you know, increase the temperature of the planet, to encourage people and educate people on how we can fight against climate change. And now they go to Antarctica, because again, Nothing is off limits, no time, no money, no whatever. They just get to places they need to get to. And they go to Antarctica and they basically, I forgot what they did. They have like some kind of bomb thing that's like underground that they release, and then it releases all these emissions. And so then as the world is getting warmer, then they'll slowly, you know, just the ice from Antarctica will like break off and cool things down, and that'll hold them over for 26 years. Whatever. Again, I'm not a scientist, but I'm like, okay. And so he's alone on this ship, but fast forward, because like I said, it's just him trying, he needs something, he remembers a solution, back and forth. Something breaks, he has a memory thing, back and forth. Then he meets the other person who comes in, and it's another life form. It's basically like the spider thing that's sentient. They have the same problem. They've noticed the whole thing with their star and the sun and this little amoeba thing that I forgot has a name. I think it's called astrophage. And they also are out in the middle of the galaxy looking for a solution. And all of their people have died, and it's just them left. The thing doesn't speak English, of course. It speaks in musical tones. And of course, Dr. Riley Grace, our extraordinaire, just knows how to write a computer program that can translate his musical tones into English words, because he's like, I can remember if I hear notes long enough, a tune, I can remember it. And I'm like, wow, you must have perfect pitch, because that's really hard. Like, yeah, you can hum or whatever a tune back, but to know the exact note from just hearing it, that's pretty impressive, Dr. Ryland Grace. But just, he knows everything. So he makes this computer program, and like over the series of like a day, basically translates this other life form's musical language into English. And then he names him Rocky. And then Rocky, of course, is just super smart. So he just understands English, and so they can communicate back and forth. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really convenient. And so, like I said, people really love the introduction of Rocky, and I was hoping I would too, and he was fine. But the problem is, especially at first, since he's trying to learn their language, and then when they do even just have their language established, is really like choppy sentences, and just reading it was not fun. Like, every time Rocky would ask a question, he would say question at the end, and he asked a lot of questions. So he'd be like, why humans need water? Question. But like, you would have to read that, and then that just annoyed me. And so anyway, fast forward through all this, right? There's a problem. Either Rocky finds a solution, or Dr. Ryland Grace has a memory that comes back. So reasons you find out. They have these people, right? They figured out we need to send these people, but how are we going to send them for that long of time? If we send this ship, we can only fit 3 people. If we send all dudes, then, or if we send men and women that want to have sex together, and then it'll be a problem. So we need to send all dudes, but then like, do we keep them awake the whole time? They may go insane. We can't keep them asleep the whole time. Anyway, they were basically testing for people who have a gene that makes them good candidates for a long-term coma. And they were studying this for people who are going through like really extensive treatments for like cancer and stuff, so they could kind of avoid that pain of like radiation and everything. So they perfect this thing, and they know how to test for people who have this gene. And of course, it's only 1 in every 7,000 people or something. So they find 6 people. So they have their original crew, which are 3 people, 2 dudes and a girl, and then their backup crew. And they're learning all the same things in case, you know, somebody, whatever. So this whole time, Dr. Ryland Grace is still there. Every meeting, he's still there. All the training, he's still there for some reason, even though he's not going, and he's already served his purposes. You find out, basically, he's been training to be her second, the lady in charge of everything. So 2 people accidentally die and blow themselves up. And so instead of, 2 people actually die and blow themselves up. So they're like, well, this person is gonna have to go in this place, but we need 1 more. And they're like, well, we have this lady over here, but she just has a bachelor's degree. And he's like, well, we'll call her. And she's like, no, it's gonna be you. So you figure out that he didn't go on this mission voluntarily, that she made him go, because she basically like locked him in a cell and then like knocked him out and put him on the ship to make him go. And she was like, and as an added effect, because he was like, well, if you make me go, I'm going to throw the mission. I'm going to work against them. She's like, no, I'm going to give you this drug that makes you an amnesiac. that makes you have amnesia, so you will just wake up and the other scientists will tell you why you're there and you'll want to work towards the greater good. And he's like, wow, it worked, because I didn't even know what I was doing. Because of course, conveniently, he only remembers this at the end when he's already been working towards solving the problem. So I watched people's reviews like, oh my God, and when that revelation, I was like, this is so dumb. So you force this person, again, the all-knowing Dr. Rylan Grace, our middle school teacher extraordinaire, which is nothing wrong with being a middle school teacher. I just don't like know that I had any middle school teachers who had a PhD. Anyway, who knows all, who can create these computer things and convert language, and he knows all the science and the math and the blah, blah, blah. But she was basically making sure he was her second, and so he sent her, or she sent him, and of course he's the only one left alive, the least qualified one, because he's not an astronaut, and mess. And I've been going on for too long, so anyway, I'll wrap this up by saying, so you're like, okay, so they figure it out, they figure out an answer, Rocky goes his way back to his people, he's going his way back to Earth to, you know, to get back to Earth, and then, he realizes something with, oh, another thing is when they figure out this answer of, they basically find a predator to the astrophage that is causing the sun to lose its heat. So they both get some, and they're like, well, we need more, and we need it to become resistant to this element. And so they're like breeding this thing so it become resistant to nitrogen or something. And I'm like, I know that happens evolution over time, but it takes like 3 weeks, and they have a resistance, and I'm like, does it happen that fast? Okay, whatever. They each go their separate ways with their new little thing, and then he remembers as he's on his way away, he's like, oh no, the thing that he has, they've evolved to eat through this canister, and his whole ship is made of it. Do I save Rocky or do I go save America? But of course, don't worry, he can go save Rocky and America, because they put these little small little drone things on the plane that have big hard drives, so he can upload the information and he can just send it on to Earth, and it'll get there eventually in the 13 years. So he does that, and he goes back to save Rocky, and Rocky's like, oh, you came to save me, you're my best friend. And then he basically lives out his life in like a aquarium on Rocky's planet, because of course they don't have the same atmosphere, and he teaches small little alien people, because, you know, teaching is his calling. Yay. What? It is just... Also, with the, you never figure out why the other two people died, because they all had the gene that were supposed to make them be able to withstand a long-term coma, but they died. And like when he wakes up, it's not like they just died. They had died like a long time ago, because their bodies were like husk and like dried out. And I'm like, why did they die though if they had the gene? So that was just like, seems like an unnecessary part to just make him the lone survivor again. No, I hated it. It was so dumb. It was so dumb. And like I said, his humor is just juvenile. He never curses, which is fine, but he would just say stuff that just like, oh, darn. And it just had it was just childish. Like, I just feel like this is like, I've read better young adult books than this. Doesn't feel, I mean, besides him being older, there's nothing, and there's like a mention of sex between these two people that's super awkward. Like they're literally having a conversation about like, let's go through the Krebs cycle and refresh ourselves on this biological process. And they're like, oh, hold on, we have a 15-minute break. Do you want to have sexual relations on that break? Why, yes, I do, Dr. Shapiro. Okay, great. She likes it when I call her Dr. Shapiro. I really do, it turns me on. Besides that stupid ass scene, this literally could be a middle grade book. For if you take like the science off page, whatever, the theme, like it's so, it's whack. This is whack. This is your best of? This? Why? How? I don't, it's so long, so much we just did not need to know. And then moments where I was like, wait, you just skipped over several weeks of this, but we had to go through hour by hour of this, talking about you sleeping and him watching you sleep and him sleeping and you watching him sleep, and talking about you eating your burrito and having your coffee and getting your water and changing your outfit. No, absolutely not. So Andy Weir, he obviously, and I heard it, I don't know if this is true. This is being adapted. And I'm like, why? We already have The Martian. We don't need another thing. Anyway, I gave it a 2 out of 5 because I read it quickly enough. And I did like the premise of the whole, like, oh, this thing is, we're running, the sun is losing energy. We need to figure that out. And I still was like, you know, halfway through it, 75% of the way through it. And I still was like, okay, but are we going to find a solution? I'm still interested in that. So it gets 2 stars, but what? No. Okay, it's already been 27 minutes. Holy shit. Okay, Final Girl Support Group. I left my Kindle downstairs, but I'm just going to go to my Kindle app. So this is by Grady Hendrix. Non-spoilers. I thought this book was just a fucking absolute bonkers and not in a good way story. I think maybe if you're a super fan of like the whole Final Girls thing, then maybe you could enjoy it. Our main character, again, we're following one character. Her name is Lynette, and I know she has been through huge trauma, but she is the worst. She's literally the worst. Her only friend is a plant. She's super paranoid. Of course, she doesn't trust people. There's just things thrown in this book that I really didn't like. The only black character, only black final girl being killed off at the beginning, and then something that happens at the end that I felt was very anti-black. And the treatment of a woman who was terminally ill and dying and how they treated her in her last moments was disgusting. The plot was just a bonkers sauce of mess. What the fuck, Grady? I was like, where is this going? And then it would go like all over here and then all over here. It was convoluted and it was just ludicrous, and none of this felt believable to me. All of the Final Girls stories were basically based on movies, which I guess maybe if you like that, but I didn't like that. And yeah, I gave it 1 star. It was worse than Project Hail Mary because while again it was fairly easy to read, I think I read it in 1 day. The writing itself was not good. Like, there's nothing good about this book to me. And so it got one star. So that's the end of non-spoilers because it's not really a long book. Look away, spoilers! Look away! But anyway, Final Girl Support Group. Final Girls are the ones who, like, make it to the end of some tragedy. But in this story, and I don't know if this is how it always to qualify as a final girl, but in this story, they're the survivor of some huge massacre, and they also kill the person who did it. And then they also experienced it twice. So in this story, not only did they have their initial attack, but then something secondary happened to them and they survived that. So I guess you're a double final girl. And so we start off the story. Final Girl Support Group is literally what it is. They meet like once a month. They've been meeting for like 16 years. So these are older characters. They're like in their 40s and 50s because their things happened in like the 80s and 90s. They've been meeting for 16 years, like once a month to, I guess, you know, have their time together. They've all had like maybe books or movie deals and all of this stuff, but it's like their time. No one else can relate that they can come together and talk. But obviously it's been 16 years, it's the same group of people and they're starting to get on each other's nerves. One member wants to leave. They all have their different issues. One is married, some of them are married, some are dealing with addiction, some are like our main character Lynette who just locks herself in her house. They all have their own problems, which makes sense if you survive something so traumatic. So at this book starts, and so we start with them at their group therapy session, and they're bickering. One person is whining about snacks, the other one's mad because one of the people are late. The other one's like, I don't want to be in this group anymore. And Adrienne is her name, the one who is late, and she is the only black woman of the group of final girls, and she has really been successful in basically suing these people who took her movies, and they put like a white woman as the main character, and she sued and got the rights to the films and remade them or something, or continued making them even though she left a white woman as the character, whatever. And then she turned the place that was the camp where her massacre happened into like a retreat, like for mental health and stuff. And so anyway, you find out in the first chapter, did I say we're getting into spoilers? Spoilers. You find in the first chapter that she's dead. She's been killed. And so now Lynette is like, oh my God, someone's coming after us final girls. And I'm like, oh wow, nice horror trope, kill the black girl first. And so Lynette, like I said, is very paranoid. She takes like 3 hours to get home, even though she doesn't live that far, because she has all these convoluted bus routes and different things, and get off this bus and watch people and hide here and go into a movie theater and then leave the movie theater and then get on this bus and all these convoluted things to go home. And she's got this like cage around her front door and all these security things. She like has a gun. She checks all the rooms in her house every time she gets home. So that's Lynette. Her only friend is a plant. Yes, a plant. And that's it. And so the story then goes, after Adrian's been killed, someone knocks at Lynette's door. And she's like, I don't give anyone my address. She looks through the people and sees another one of the girls who are in her group. And she won't open. And the girl calls her phone rings, and she still just sits there and doesn't open the door. And I'm like, well, she heard your phone ring. The girl comes back, and she looks through the whole peephole this time, or her little camera or whatever, and there's a person who's like in a, I don't know, I envisioned it as a scream mask, whatever, standing outside with like a piece of paper, and they put the piece of paper to the camera or the peephole or whatever, and they're like, open up or she's dead. And so she gets her gun and she's like ready to open the door. She's like, oh shit, one of my, you know, fellow final girls is gonna die. And she starts shooting at them through this cage that was around her front door, which she thought bullets could get through, but apparently the bullets ricochet off, and they're like, stop shooting, stop shooting. And I'm like, the girl is like, it's me. And she brought like this reporter with her or something. I'm like, you know how paranoid this girl is? Why the fuck would you think that would be a funny thing to do? And they're like, why were you shooting at us? She's like, why did you come here? Because this one person had her address and it was only supposed to be for an emergency. So anyway, they come because they're like, someone's writing a book about us. And she's like, oh no, someone's writing a book about us. That's where they're getting this information. And because things start happening. So Adrian dies. One of the other ones, like the house she was living in burns down. The cops come to her property or something, and she gets arrested. And then so why they're here? Because she just shot, you know, whatever. People start shooting through her window. So someone came for her as well. And the final girl, I can't remember her name, who came to visit her, because they all feel the same except Lynette, gets shot. And so does the reporter, we think, and she just like grabs her pack and is like, she's like, I should call 911, I gotta go. So she just leaves that girl for dead and the dude. And then she's on the run essentially, because she's like, people are coming after us. They are coming after us final girls, and no one's really listening. So she goes to other people in the group, and they're like, no, these are just coincidences, nothing's happening. And they have like their therapist. She ends up staying with the therapist, and it's just like weird stuff. Like the therapist has two sons. One's like really young and one's like 26, and the really young one's just like a really shitty kid. I'm like, who talks to people like that? And the other one, 26, she like walks in on him and he's masturbating while watching porn, and she's like, I've seen worse than that. And she asks him to give her a ride. Like, she won't even sit up in a car. She's like sitting on the floorboard of the car. He gives her a ride, and he gives her a ride to another girl in the group who's like this super rich Republican lady. She married rich, whatever. And she goes to her house, and she like scales the wall and somehow like almost gets past security, but then she gets tackled. Like, it's just a fucking ridiculous thing after ridiculous thing. So one of the people in the group is she's married, so she's a lesbian, she has a wife, and she's like, I'm leaving the group because I want to spend more time with my wife, because her wife is in like stage 4 whatever for cancer. And so on this bonkers ride we're going on with Lynette and these other final girls who are together, there's like 3 of them together, they go to I think the final girl's name is Dana. Her wife maybe is Michelle, who's been moved to hospice because Dana got taken to jail. So they go visit Michelle in hospice. I don't remember why. And so they're like, well, she always said she wanted to die on their ranch, so we're gonna take her out of here. This woman is in hospice. Who knows how much more time she has to live. They're waiting for her wife to be released for jail so she can come there. And they're like, no, we're gonna take her. They don't have anything for her. They don't have any supplies. They just literally get past all of the people in the hospital, and they put her in a wheelchair. She's like frail and uncomfortable, and they take her out just to this SUV and put her in there. In this woman's last moments of life. And then they're like, oh, something smells. Did she shit herself? And so she does have an adult diaper, and so they have to take this poor woman out. And I don't remember if it was like in the back of the SUV or it was on the ground on a yoga mat, and basically had to change her there. And they're like, she's really starting to wither away. I don't know if we can take her. They realized also they were going to take her back to the ranch. They don't know the address, and she's too weak to speak. So they're like, well, we can't even get her to the address anyway. She should at least die outside, and we can just tell her she's at the ranch and tell her her wife is here. And you know what they do? They just leave her in the wheelchair with this random old man in the park. They're like, oh, he'll stay with her. And I already called 911 to come get her. So this old man, they just leave with this poor woman, leave her to die by herself in a random park. Why? Why was that ever even necessary? Then Lynette figures out that one of the other final girls that she's been with on this little bonkers trip called the cops on her. So now she's arrested because they've put a thing out for her for reasons related to her story, because now the people who were involved in her murder, one is like the brother of the original person. Again, you see how this is a mess? Like I said, they all have two things that happened to them. So Lynette's whole thing was she was writing stories to some boy she met online or something and liked, and was complaining about her dad and like the whole, oh, I wish you could just take me away from them and blah, blah, blah. And so he comes to murder her family. But also he hurts her. Like her story of how she got hurt is he basically put her up on like a mounted deer head or something, like the antler just like went through her, and she's just like sitting there until this cop comes to the house and checks and you know, takes her down, and he basically rescues her. So then years later, when she's living with her foster family, the murderer's brother comes back and does it all again, and tries to like bash her brains out, but because of the damage she faced then, and the first one, I think she has like a metal plate in her head or something. Anyway, she lives again. This cop again rescues her, and she said she was 18 when the second thing happened, and she's in the hospital, and this cop comes. He's like, well, he wanted something more this time than a teddy bear for rescuing me. And so that is the first time she has sex with him. He's like, I don't know, in his 30s at least, in her hospital bed as she's recovering from this brutal attack after her foster parents are just murdered. Grady Hendrix straight to jail. Straight to jail. What? Why? Why? Anyway, you find out that there is someone after all of the final girls, and it's a final girl. There was like in the beginning a mention of something that had just recently happened, and this young girl who was the final girl, and essentially it was her and like the therapist's son working together. And then at the end, Lynette is basically visited or has visions from the dead Adrian. Yes, the black woman, the mystical black woman now has come back and given her the strength to get through this moment. And I said, Grady Hendrix straight to jail. To be clear, there wasn't like a ghost. I'm pretty sure Lynette was like hallucinating and like seeing things, but still. It was like, oh look, the magical Negro come to save the white lady. And so, you know, Lynette lives and stuff. It was garbage. It was all garbage. Like, I know you're probably just listening like, Jessica, none of this made sense, because none of it made sense. It was fucking stupid. I hated every part of it, and I had to reread the part at the end, and then I went to go read some people's reviews to make sure that I actually read that, and yes, he did. So, no rights for Grady Hendrix and Andy Weir. They are rebuked. I was really, I was hopeful after Southern Book Club to read more Grady Hendrix, and now I'm like, I don't know. You don't deserve rights. So that is it for me. Those were, I mean, it was a journey, whatever. I said I read them, I gave them the chance. They're not for me. If you love them, I don't understand, but we all have the option to be loud and wrong. It's fine. So, please feel free to share any of your thoughts down below on these two books, and thank you for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe and stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreened, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.